In the highest level of Core City was Shroud's office. He sat behind his large brown desk. His chubby gut kept him from scooting his chair any closer to the desk. It kept him from leaning closer over to the phone as he called his secretary. "Send in the boys," he grunted. He grabbed the napkin from his neck after he was finished slurping it on his crummy fingers. He pushed his golden plate and golden fork away from the unfinished steak and lobster dinner. His sick company granted him such luxuries and delicacies. Someone as vile as him was quite happy with himself, since he never missed a wink of sleep over the genocide. He was still trying to continue his dark business with the missing girl. An elevator that was Shroud's door started beeping until it reached his top floor. Shroud placed on his golden framed glasses and his dark brown eyes settled. He should have worn sunglasses because the golden frames, golden clock, golden windows, and the golden dishes on his desk could have caused him to go blind. The elevator doors opened and the two men walked out. One still looked the age of a young boy around 18 who held a sexy demeanor. The other was much more the adult with rugged features, with a chiseled and unshaven face, around the age of 22. Shroud stood up to hug the two men. He looked to the older man. "Trickster, I have a task for you and your brother here. It's very important that you don't let this get to your head. Greed can destroy a man, even kill him." He chuckled darkly as he thought such a concept was almost a joke. The younger brother's black eyes twinkled as a grin slid across his perfect lips. He put his hand on Shroud's shoulder. "If that's true, then why aren't you dead yet?" Shroud huffed ignorantly to avoid the question. "Watch it, Andrew. You're on thin ice as it is." Andrew swished his straight jet black hair out of his face. Andrew gave a defiant glare to Shroud. "Don't play dumb. You signed up for the Core Company troopers, and you can't even execute my tasks. Yeah, you handled the job well enough, but you can never finish them." Andrew looked out the window at the many tall buildings and the smog polluting the sky. Trickster put his hand on Andrew's shoulder to comfort his brother, knowing he was haunted by the memories and the screams. "He couldn't stomach the task, all right. That's why I handled killing the Novas off, but he's done a fine job capturing them for me." Andrew sulked. He and Trickster were in charge of capturing the Novas and killing them, but Andrew couldn't stomach it. Somewhere inside was a good person, but he was still in a dark place if he could help an organization hunt down the innocent and imprison them. Trickster felt nothing when he did the dirty work for the Core Company, which is why he would be perfect for this next job. Shroud shook his head. "Well, I don't need any chickening out with this next job, all right, Andrew?" Andrew grinned as he was ready to move further into a higher rank in the company. Shroud sat back down behind his desk and cracked his fuzzy knuckles. "I've waited a long time for this girl to hit age 18, and it's time to pick up the last Nova. She lives in the hidden village of the woods." Trickster's black eyes suddenly gleamed with anticipation. Shroud ran his fingers through his gray hair that was shedding from the stress. "I have kept this from absolutely everyone, but I have discovered something quite awful. The Novas were the energy that was keeping the planet alive. Now that we're down to one, the world is rotting." Ava was right. She was right about something horrible beginning to take place in the very earth. The Nova's energy was supposed to enter the planet, not be used up and sucked dry for technology. "I am afraid by using the energy for ourselves, the world has become deprived." The two men glared at Shroud. He kept it from everyone just to continue on and have a good run of greed. Now they were all going to pay the price. "It is vital that we solve this and find the girl. She is our only hope now. She needs to reproduce more of her kind, or we are all in deep trouble." Shroud sighed heavily. Shroud put his feet on his desk and leaned back in his chair as Andrew and Trickster's eyes lowered in fear. They glanced toward each other with wounded eyes, for they were beginning to realize just who they were working for. "Go, collect this girl and do not harm her. Bring her back in one piece, or else." Trickster walked out as Andrew followed. Shroud placed his sleep mask over his eyes as he was ready to take a nap by his desk. "Oh, and boys," they both turned around with raised eyebrows, "feel free to make a scene." Trickster led Andrew into the elevator. They headed down and Trickster remained dead silent. As they reached the very bottom floor and walked out, Trickster stopped in his tracks. Andrew noticed something was off and Trickster was acting suspicious with twitchy and shady eyes. "Are you okay?" Trickster snapped out of it and smiled sincerely. He shook his head to wake up as Andrew approached Trickster. "Look, you go on ahead. You finish the mission for the both of us. I have something I have to take care of." Trickster ran back into the elevator as Andrew ran after him. "What do you have to do?" Trickster pressed the button to head back up. As the doors began to close, Trickster shoved Andrew out of the elevator to say, "Don't worry about it." Trickster headed up and he was vague about his hidden agenda, but Andrew decided to follow his orders to collect the girl on his own. Andrew hitched a ride on a helicopter. "Take me to Tina's house, will you?" The pilot started chuckling. "Are you finally going to get some guts to ask her out already?" Andrew glared at the pilot. "Just fly this thing." Andrew hid his blush from the pilot as he took him to Tina's home. Andrew winced as the pilot continued. "Hey, I won't rush you. Besides, maybe asking Tina out isn't such a good idea. I mean, if you and Tina don't work out, it will sort of tear our friendship apart. And after that promise you made, it'd be a real bummer if you backed out on it." Andrew had a flashback. Andrew and Tina were sitting on a giant root of a tree, while a longtime friend of them both, Red, was standing on the grass mound. In the circled meadow were 6 targets. Red was known for his skills with the bow and arrow, and for being the fastest pilot in the entire squad. He clicked his bow and arrow. The bow and arrow was not built of wood, but of metal. Once the red button toward the end of the bow was pressed, the arrow suddenly glowed green. He aimed his arrow at the ground center of all, instead of the actual target. "What are you doing?" Andrew asked, boggled. Red smirked and released the arrow. As his arrow hit the ground, the green energy blasted and exploded on the ground. Each green spark of energy hit and destroyed each target. Andrew's jaw dropped. Tina then started clapping. Red put his bow and arrow on his back. He bowed obnoxiously to accept the great feedback. "Man, I love Nova energy. Pretty cool, huh, Tina?" She smiled at him. Andrew wasn't impressed with Red showing off his skills. "You shouldn't waste energy like that. It's just practice." Red sensed the hostility in Andrew's voice. He sensed the jealousy from him, for he wanted Tina's attention as well. "We can always get more. There are plenty of Novas to go around." He didn't care that it would take another death of a Nova to obtain more. He shoved death off as nothing. So did everyone else. Tina suddenly started shaking her head. "Man, I'm going to miss these days. We're all the same right now, but what if that changes? We'll all be sent on different missions, and we'll never see each other." Tina switched her short brown hair back and forth, hiding her face. She was about to sulk. She pulled many of these episodes partly for a purpose. Boy's attention was part of the purpose, among other things. Red brushed his hands through his long red hair, not knowing what to do to comfort her, so Andrew took the lead. "Tina, we'll never be apart. We'll stick together no matter what. We won't abandon you, I promise." Tina hugged Andrew while Red shook his head. Red helped Tina down off of the tree root. "Yeah, we'll be the 3 Musketeers," he said confidently. Red only said that so Tina would hug him next, and that she did. She then waved to them both. "Well, I have to get going. If I'm late going home again, my mom will have a fit. Bye." She ran off. Andrew took a few steps after her to watch her for as long as he could before she went out of sight. He turned around to see Red staring with a smirk. "What?" Andrew asked. Red approached and put his arm around his shoulder. "You only said that because you like her. But do you mean it for all of us?" Red snickered as Andrew said, "It's a promise." The flashback ended as Andrew said, "I don't need the pep talk, alright? I know what I'm doing." Red flew the helicopter to Tina's home. He stayed hovered while Andrew threw down the rope. Andrew slid down the rope of the helicopter, and Red flew back to land on the top of the large building. He knocked, and Tina was fast to open the door. Her long brown hair twirled in curls down to her chest. Her light skin went well with her bright blue eyes. She was much shorter than Andrew. She was 5'5", while he was 6 foot tall. As short as she was still a firecracker with a strong attitude. She was a dominant woman with still beautiful, womanly features. She was an independent woman even as a young girl. Andrew considered Tina and him childhood friends, but they were more acquaintances. Tina didn't like Andrew at one time. She found him too weak for her standards. She liked to hang out with the boys and do dares that could end up with many bruises and broken bones. Andrew tried one of the dares to climb over a weak plank to the other side of the cliff. Well, he tripped off of it and broke his leg after falling into the not-so-high cliff. She's never invited him to hang out with her and her guy friends again because she was, in one word, mortified. She was too embarrassed to be seen with them. She even made fun of him with her guy friends. He was the black sheep. Andrew still liked Tina no matter what she said about him. As time passed, he was entering a horrible stage of teenhood. He was still in the awkward stages of growing up. A sign of that awkward stage was his squeaky voice. He was smart enough to just remain quiet most of the time. Tina did make fun of him about it in front of her friends. Andrew was never accepted, and he felt that entering the corps company as a soldier would give him a higher rank and therefore a reason to command respect and love from Tina. Tina played with her hair. "Oh, hi, Andrew." Andrew couldn't stop smiling. "Hi." Tina looked at him confused. "What are you doing here?" Andrew stopped smiling like a nerd and took in a deep breath to gain composure in front of her. She giggled at him. He scratched his head nervous. "I wanted to know if you would like to go to dinner with me." Tina's eyes lit up as she smiled. "Absolutely." Andrew and Tina smiled like they were little children. Tina suddenly pulled on Andrew's hand. "Instead of going out to dinner, why don't we stay in?" she grinned. Andrew's eyes started twinkling. He knew that now that he grew up into a mature, gorgeous, suave, and confident soldier, Tina was interested in him. She liked the rough guys, so Andrew became one for her. Tina was still in her robe. She took it off only to show off her body. She wore black boxers with a small red top that didn't cover her flat belly. Andrew's eyes glanced straight to her bare belly. He looked away nervous. Tina grabbed an empty beer bottle off of her kitchen counter. "Yeah, we can play spin the bottle, remember?" She started laughing. Andrew had a slight flashback to the time they played the game. As the outcast, Andrew was never invited anywhere. Tina practically shunned him from her life. She was having a small party at her house, and she only invited Andrew because her mother forced her to. Tina's mother felt bad for Andrew since he didn't have many friends. At the small house party, Tina's mother saw that they were just swimming in the pool, eating and playing video games that was fueled by the Nova's energy. Tina was actually paid Nova energy and allowance. If she was defiant with her mother, that energy would be taken away, which meant her cell phone and television wouldn't work. When Tina's mother left for work, she grabbed a bottle. "Let's play spin the bottle. No one will ever know except us, right?" The other teens nodded their heads. There were 3 boys and 3 girls in total, including Tina and Andrew. One girl turned the bottle first and got another boy. They kissed as Andrew pictured Tina and him doing the same. Everyone laughed nervous as they kissed. Then it was Tina's turn. Andrew's palms began to sweat as she reached for the bottle. She turned it once and received another boy. Andrew had to look away as she kissed that other boy. The others laughed again as the boy who was just kissed by Tina turned the bottle next. He landed on Tina. He got to kiss her again, and Andrew wanted to grab the bottle in the center and break it over the other boy's head. It was Andrew's turn, and of course he prayed the kiss would be for Tina. The odds were not in his favor because it was another girl. This girl was attractive, with simple features, with fluffy red hair, but she was nothing to Tina. She was Tina's best friend, and she actually made fun of Andrew with her on many occasions, and now she had to kiss him. They kissed, and it wasn't Tina, but Andrew sure could pretend. And that's what he did, so he kissed this girl that he didn't even like for more than the usual quick peck. Tina actually commented to make fun of Andrew in public again, while the others giggled. "Geez, Andrew, you act like it's your first kiss or something." "Oh wait, it is, isn't it?" Andrew pulled back embarrassed. Andrew snapped out of his flashback and pulled from Tina as she drew closer. "Maybe some other time. I've been given orders to track down the last Nova." Tina's eyes lit up again. "Really? You're so lucky. You're going to be legendary." Andrew was eating up the compliments with a cocky smirk. Tina grabbed Andrew by the shirt to lower him down so she could kiss him on the lips. She kind of caught him off guard, but he wrapped his arms around her waist as she continued to kiss him. She dropped her lips from his and said, "That's for good luck. Well, you better get going then." Andrew held back the giddy smile until he left the room. He then took the helicopter to the woods and landed right into the village. The villagers knew he was looking for Ava as he drew his sword. Red hopped out and drew his bow and arrow. "Where is the Nova you've been hiding?" Andrew snapped. The villagers swarmed him and started shaking their heads at... Sorry for the timer. The villagers swarmed him and started shaking their heads at him. "She's not here, she's not here," they repeated over and over. But Andrew was smarter than that. "How did you know I was looking for a girl Nova? Now I know she's here." He shoved past them all. "Where is she?" He took his sword and aimed it at a hut. A bright red orb shot from it and made the small hut explode with fire and dark clouds shooting out. Red took out another hut. The villagers drew back in fear, knowing the power of technology they had from the leftover energy of the deceased Novas lingered in their upgraded blades. They all backed away from him in awed, flabbergasted. They lowered their heads as they couldn't help Ava, and they knew it. The villagers looked to Ava's cottage with her mother that was the only place surrounded by many vibrant flowers from her powers. Andrew noticed the scared eyes from the villagers glancing repeatedly to the cottage, so he knew she must have lived there. He barged into the house, and Ava's mother was inside cooking. She turned around frazzled. "What are you doing?" He ran into the other rooms, tearing off bed mattresses, breaking closet doors to see where Ava might be hiding. He couldn't find her, so he went back to the kitchen. Kendra just bolted outside to join the villagers. Andrew grabbed Kendra by her blouse and stuck his sword across her throat. "Now let's stop playing games and tell me where the Nova is." Kendra